Nope. So of course it wouldn't be working on a Delorean if we didn't snap something off. Luckily I keep my feathers numbered for just such an occasion. So underneath your headliner, when you pull that out, there's a little slit cut inside the roof. Mine's completely full of silicone, as you can see, and we're going to have some fun getting that out in a minute. It really helps if you remove your seat in order to get this job done, give you a chance to clean out underneath it as well. So you just pull off this little cover, and then you can use your 17mm to remove the upper seatbelt mount. Pull back that weather strip, and this is kind of glued on to the outside of the body, so I opted to just leave a little bit of space and cut that off. So it's going to be hidden underneath the weather strip anyway. I'm not really too concerned about it. It's either that or I risk breaking it, and I wasn't going to do that. Obviously, you just want to be really careful here. So I used one of those extended length razor blades to cut through the initial silicone. Here's an idea of what we're looking at. Completely packed full of silicone inside there. Takes a bit of grit and patience. And here we go. This is the inside, the piece that just broke off a second ago. This is the part that I was telling you about in the last video that will pull through the body. Luckily, this new kit is so wide that even if you do have some minor damage in that area, the kit is so big that it should be able to just cover that up without any problems, in most cases. Here's all that junk that I ripped out of there. Yeah, so it's really messy. The foam that's inside of this body kind of just turns into like glitter dust, and it just gets everywhere. So right here, what I'm trying to show you is that there's a little hole. The washer on the back of this last bolt goes way down inside of there, and I was really lucky the first time when I dropped it, and it came out of that hole right there. So I didn't want to lose that thing behind that quarter panel, so this is a good idea that I came up with that has saved me a couple of times already in this process. Take your paper towel or a rag or something and stuff it down in there, and it will keep anything from falling down inside that quarter panel. I also just use a vacuum accessory to kind of wedge the quarter panel down a little bit. Be careful, this stuff is old and you don't want to break that thing. But yes, now it will basically kind of be forced to come out of this hole or get stuck in there, so you're safe. So this is me disassembling that new bracket. This shows you the factory size of that first piece, and then how wide the new bracket is and the pieces that go on the inside of the body. So here, this is the frustrating thing that I've been dealing with. Is I got this kit from Delorean Go, and I got the one from them because they told me that they're the ones that designed it. But man, both of these have been an absolute hassle. None of these bolt holes lined up. The only ones that would line up are these two right here. The other ones you're going to end up drilling on your own. But yeah, I had to go get special carbide cutters in order to get through the stainless. And I'll show you in a second the amount of cutting that was required to get the holes to line up. Of course, one would say, why not just cut new holes to the ones that line up with theirs? But it's not like I didn't think about that. This is obviously much harder than doing that, but the problem with that is that their holes are so far off that the mount actually doesn't fit up inside the body. I would have to cut through the body in order to make the inner piece of this mount fit up inside there, and I figured that this was a much better option, keeping the factory orientation so I don't have to cut away any more than necessary inside that fiberglass body. And this is about how far off they were. Alrighty, now that we've got this thing in position, I should be able to get that rear piece
So much better the second time.
attached.
Holy cow.
The first time it took me 6 tries to get those pieces to line up. So right here I've got stainless steel washers I got from Home Depot. With making those bolt holes bigger, I wanted to have more surface area to bite onto rather than that little tiny bolt. Alrighty, we're going deep. So this is going to be the more difficult part. As you can see by my face, I know this one sucks. So what I do is I go in here and use a chisel to kind of get rid of the majority of the foam. Now I'm just drilling the holes through the fiberglass using the bracket as a template. So in both cases, the left and the right side on mine, where they had that hole is too close to the arch on the outside of the body. So that big washer right there wouldn't line up with the hole without contacting the body. What I'm doing here is I'm using a drill kind of like a Dremel bit, and I'm carving out a little bit of the body so that the washer section of that inner mount piece will kind of dig itself into the body and will allow it to line up properly. But because you're going to have to test fit this and check and drill and check and keep going back and forth, that's what's going to make you drop it down inside of that quarter panel. So be very careful with that. So this is what it should look like in the end. You can see where that washer is kind of carved into the body right there. I did get it to line up first try, thank goodness. All right, at this point, it's actually more beneficial to have the quarter panel out of your way because you're going to be working on the opposite side now, the side with the other 2 bolt holes that's closer to the center of the car. So there's no way to access that. So what I do is I just line it up by eye and made a little mark with my chisel to see how far back I'm going to have to cut in order to get that bracket up inside there. Then I've got my trusty hand hacksaw. Seemed to be the best way so far to do this without making a giant mess in the vacuum so it doesn't go on my eyeballs. Expect this to be really uncomfortable and take longer than you think it should. At this point I pulled out the extra foam. Remember, this is going to make a big mess, so have your vacuum ready. I got the chisel up inside there and removed all the extra foam and gave myself some room to get that new bracket in there. This should be really one of the easiest parts of this installation. At this point, you're basically home free.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get that thing installed.
I leave them connected and I just back them off a bit in order to get in there with the sealant. I don't honestly know if this is really necessary, but whatever. They sent it, I'm going to use it. I've seen some pictures of guys use this stuff and they just make a giant mess. It really doesn't take much. I just went with the smallest hole on the end of the applicator and just put enough in there for some minor squeeze out. I'm not looking for a big, just nasty mess. Tighten them all up by hand. Get some good squeeze out. And gave it the old factory spec. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the future.